Welcome to the second episode of Skyrim Cut Content. Today we'll be looking at another cut location. This time not a whole town, but rather a lumber mill. The mill in question was called Irontree Mill, and it would have been located in Havengar. I will show you where exactly the mill was to be located. Let's get an aerial view. Okay. Do you see something wrong here? Well, as you might be able to see, this location apparently changed a lot during development. There is no lake or stream nearby, which might lead to some problems seeing as all mills in Skyrim are dependent on water to turn their wheel. But this also gives some insight on how the location once was. It probably would have had a stream or lake to power the mill, and it would have also been a lot flatter. Now let's break down all the other info that we have. The location I just discussed could be determined by the surviving cell Irontree Mill exterior, which coincidentally also is the only part of the mill that managed to stay in the final game, albeit completely changed. There are two remaining NPCs, Steyrod and Trilf, who are brothers and who would have lived at the mill. These I will discuss further in a moment. There's also surviving data for two locations, Irontree Lumber Mill, which would have been the exterior cell's name on the map, and Trilf's house, which would have been a house located at the mill, indicating where the brothers would have lived. There's also an AI package called Irontree Mill Sandbox 8x12, which is still in both NPCs' AI package list. A faction called Town Irontree Mill faction, which is also used by both Steyrod and Trilf. A form list containing Steyrod and Trilf, and a key named Irontree Mill House Key, still in the possession of the two brothers. Also take note of the naming inconsistency with the actual house location data. The last place where the mill is mentioned by name is in the CW map script as one of Havengar's important locations. Now for a more in-depth look at the mill's residents, Steyrod and Trilf. Steyrod is a level 4 North Lumberjack with the base ID of 00019A19. A small side note, his ID and his brother's ID appear the same as NPCs living in Dragonbridge, meaning that they got created around the same time. He possesses the male cynical voice type and has 5 lines of remaining unique dialogue.
We got everything in hand here. You aren't needed around here. We chop trees, we mill the wood. What more would you want to know? That's a hard way to make a living, but we find ways to make ends meet. We don't take kindly to people snooping around our business. These axes can chop a lot more than wood, you know.
He's also still part of 3 factions. Crime Faction Havengar, Havengar's standard crime faction, Job Lumberjack faction, which indicates his job, and Town Irontree Mill faction, which indicates his place of residence. Oh, and just so you know, the town part doesn't mean that the mill originally was a town. All places where NPCs live, even farms and mines, are prefixed with town in their internal faction name. He also has a unique relationship marker called Steyrod-Trilf Brothers, which is pretty self-explanatory. While he seems to be pretty complete, in other ways, he severely lacks in the AI department. He only possesses a default sleep package as well as a default sandbox package and this unique Irontree Mill sandbox package. It seems like the developers hadn't got around to making actual working packages for the brothers before cutting them. He wears standard farm clothes with matching boots and he doesn't carry anything except for his iron dagger and his house key. For the rest, he's just your average NPC. Trilf is pretty similar to Steyrod, sharing the same level, class and of course race, with his base ID being 00019A1B. He possesses the male young eager voice type and has 4 lines of remaining unique dialogue.
Hey, welcome to the mill. My brother and me bought this place when we left the army. Boy, did we lose a bundle. But at least we're not fighting the war. We're making our money back, bit by bit. Every extra bit of work helps. We served our time in the Legion. Now we're just trying to make it day to day.
Trilf shares his basic factions with Steyrod, with the exception being that Trilf is also part of the favorite jobs Chop Wood faction, which means that had he been included in the game, he would have been able to pay you for chopped firewood like numerous other mill owners. The thing about this though, is that there are no other NPCs with this voice type a part of this faction, meaning that his version of the chop firewood lines go unused as well.
Here for work? Get an axe and bring me all the wood you can chop. Honest gold for honest work.
He naturally shares Stayrod's relationship marker as well as his AI packages. He wears a different set of farm clothes, carries the key to their non-existing house and an iron war axe. This usually functions to indicate the mill's boss. To finish things off, there is evidence of one other NPC who would have been located at the mill. Don't get your hopes up though, it's just a generic guard. And I say generic, but that's not entirely true, as this guard can only be placed at the mill thanks to their unused dialogue. There are 4 lines to be exact, recorded in 3 different voice types each. Every line has a recording for the male guard, male Nord commander and female Nord voice types.
Nice to be here on the home front. Wouldn't mind being down in Cyrodiil, though.
Nice to be here on the home front. Wouldn't mind being down in Cyrodiil, though.
Nice to be here on the home front. Wouldn't mind being down in Cyrodiil, though.
These boys do good work for the Empire.
These boys do good work for the Empire.
These boys do good work for the Empire.
I once saw Stayrod tear a whole tree out of the ground with his bare hands. Glad he's on our side.
I once saw Stayrod tear a whole tree out of the ground with his bare hands. Glad he's on our side.
I once saw Stayrod tear a whole tree out of the ground with his bare hands. Glad he's on our side.
I used to serve with Trilf and Stayrod. Good guys, but don't get on their bad side, you know?
I used to serve with Trilf and Stayrod. Good guys, but don't get on their bad side, you know?
I used to serve with Trilf and Stayrod. Good guys, but don't get on their bad side, you know?
Now again, this wouldn't be a Bethesda game if there wasn't some kind of oddity. These lines are all very pro-Empire, while there aren't any conditions preventing these lines from being spoken by Stormcloaks. Also, the female Nord voice type isn't even used by Imperial guards, as there are no females among their ranks. The mill's guards having unique dialogue about the mill and its residents is a whole unused concept in itself, and in the final game this only happens with towns and cities. And that's about all that can be said on Irontree Mill. I hope that I've just educated someone somewhere about Skyrim's cut content, and then I'm happy. I would love to hear everyone's thoughts and or suggestions in the comments below, and until next episode, we have enough content to keep us going for a long while.